All right, today we're diving into something that pretty much every business on the planet deals with, invoices. And we're going to see how a huge shift in AI is turning this super common, everyday task completely on its head.
So let's kick things off with a question. Think about an invoice. That PDF or piece of paper that lands on someone's desk. What do you think it actually costs your company to just process it? And I'm not talking about what's on the bill, but the actual work involved.
Okay, get ready for this. The answer is, on average, a staggering $22. Yeah, $22 for every single invoice that gets touched by human hands. It's like this hidden tax you're paying on being inefficient, and believe me, it adds up fast.
So where in the world is all that money going? Well, to really get why the AI solution is such a game changer, we first have to peel back the layers on the old way of doing things.
You see, the problem here isn't just that doing things by hand is slow. That's part of it, for sure. But the real issue is that it's this cascade of errors. Every single time a person has to touch an invoice, there's a chance for a mistake. And even tiny mistakes can snowball into massive delays, a ton of rework, and some pretty serious financial headaches.
So just how much human effort are we talking about? Well, one company looked into it and found they were burning through over 400 hours every single month just on manual data entry. That's basically 2 full-time people doing nothing but typing numbers from one screen to another.
Now, you'd think with all those hours, you'd at least get perfect accuracy, right? No, it's actually the opposite. Doing it manually leads to error rates as high as 30%. Just wrap your head around that. That means 1 out of every 3 invoices could have a mistake that somebody has to hunt down and fix. And what happens when there's an error? The whole process just grinds to a halt. That invoice gets stuck, it has to be flagged, investigated, corrected, and then sent back through the approval chain all over again. That whole cycle of rework, it adds, on average, 3 full weeks to the payment process.
And those 3-week delays, they're not just annoying, they're expensive. We're talking real financial damage. For one company, it was over $50,000 a year just in late payment fees. But here's the real kicker. They missed out on $800,000 in early payment discounts. That's just cash being left on the table, all because the process was too slow.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's slow, it's expensive, it's a mess. And this is exactly where AI-driven automation steps in. And we're not talking about a small tweak here. This is a fundamental change in how things get done. Let's dig in.
So what's the magic behind this AI? Well, it mainly uses 2 cool pieces of tech. First, you've got something called optical character recognition, or OCR. Think of it like the AI's eyes. It can read the text on pretty much any invoice, no matter the format. Then you have natural language processing, NLP. This is the brain. It doesn't just read the words, it understands them. It knows, okay, that's the vendor's name, this is a line item, that's the tax amount. And it pulls all that data out perfectly, automatically.
So when you put them side by side, the difference is it's night and day. You're going from this slow, error-filled, fragmented manual process to something that's lightning fast, incredibly accurate, super efficient, and all managed in one central smart system.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? But you're probably thinking, how do we actually do this? It sounds like it could be this massive, complicated IT nightmare. But honestly, the path to getting this up and running is way more straightforward than you'd think.
And believe it or not, this whole transformation can happen from start to finish in about 90 days. Seriously, it kicks off with a deep dive into how you're doing things now. Then, in month 2, the AI gets integrated into your existing workflow. And by month 3, you're testing and getting ready to go live. It's a really structured plan designed to get you results fast.
When you boil it down, the whole process really has 3 key steps. First, you let the data do the talking. You analyze your old invoices to find out where the real pain points are. Second, you focus on integration. You got to make sure this new AI brain can talk to your existing systems without any hiccups. And finally, and this is so important, training. You need to get your team comfortable and excited about the new tools. That's how you make sure it's a success.
All right, so we've laid out the problem and the roadmap to fix it. Now for the best part, the payoff. Let's look at the absolutely dramatic transformation that happens when AI takes the wheel.
I mean, just look at this. It's incredible. The average time it took to process a single invoice went from 10 long days all the way down to just 2. That's an 80% drop. That immediately frees up cash and makes the whole operation run so much smoother.
And hey, remember that crazy 30% error rate we talked about earlier? Gone. With AI, the data accuracy jumps to 99.5% on the very first pass. That whole expensive, time-sucking cycle of finding and fixing mistakes, it's practically gone.
So what about the people? What happens to the team that was spending all those hours just typing? Well, they don't get replaced. They get empowered. This automation frees up about 80% of their time, letting them switch from tedious data entry to high-value strategic work. We're talking vendor negotiations, analyzing spending, real financial planning.
And don't just take my word for it. The proof is right here in the results. One company projected $1.2 million in labor cost savings over just 2 years. But what's maybe even more impressive is that they hit an 85% adoption rate with their users in the very first month. That tells you that people actually want to use these tools because it makes their jobs easier and more meaningful.
So, what does this all boil down to in financial terms? The bottom line, the return on investment. We're seeing an average ROI of 200% within the first year. Think about that. The tech pays for itself 2 times over in just 12 months. That's just wild.
Okay, so the results are obviously huge. The transformation is powerful. So, what are the key lessons here? What's the actual blueprint for making this a success in your own organization? All right, here's your blueprint for success. First, you've got to start with your own data. Do a deep dive to find out what your real problems are. Second, one-size-fits-all doesn't really work here. A solution that's customized to your needs is way more effective. Third, integration is everything. You have to make sure it works seamlessly with the systems you already have. Fourth, and I can't stress this enough, prioritize training. It's the absolute key to getting your team on board. And finally, don't sweat your messy old data. Today's AI is built to handle it, and tackling it is critical. So I want to leave you with this one thought. We've seen how AI can free up 80% of the time that's currently wasted on manual invoice work. So the real question isn't about the technology anymore, it's about the potential. What could your team really achieve with all that time back?